When we think about who's fighting a disease like ALS, our minds tend to jump to two extremes. You've either got the tiny, scrappy startup burning the midnight oil in a lab, or you've got the massive global pharma giant. But today, we're going to look at the powerful engine of innovation that's humming away right in between those two.
And that's a really important question, because with the disease this complex, this tough, the answer isn't always who you'd think. All right, let's get into it.
Look, the fight against ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, has been a long, hard road. We see these exciting headlines about potential breakthroughs, but actually turning a discovery in a lab into a real treatment for a patient, that is a monumental challenge. It really feels like there's a missing piece in the whole system, a gap between the brilliant science and the people who need it most.
And that is where we find the core idea for this entire explainer. There's this special category of companies that are operating in a kind of sweet spot, a place where they're just perfectly built to drive real, tangible progress against this devastating disease.
So think about it like this. On one side, you've got the small startups. They are fast, they are bold, they'll chase down crazy ideas, but they often just don't have the deep pockets for those super long, super expensive clinical trials. And on the other end, you have the pharma giants. They've got basically unlimited cash, but they're like these giant supertankers. It can take them a long time to change course, and they can be a bit more cautious. So you see it, right? There's a gap.
So who fills that gap? Well, that's where the mid-cap biotech comes in. The best way to think about them is as the Goldilocks solution. They're not too small, not too big, they're just right. They're big enough to have the financial muscle to fund those huge make-or-break trials, but they're still agile and focused enough to go all in on really specific cutting-edge science without getting stuck in endless committee meetings.
And their advantages are pretty clear. For one thing, they're super focused. Instead of trying to cure everything at once, they pour all their resources into one specific area, like neurodegenerative diseases. A lot of them also build these incredible platform technologies, and we'll talk a lot more about that in a sec. They're also really smart about partnering up to get bigger. And finally, they can just move faster. Less red tape means they can often get through the clinical trial process quicker than the giants.
Okay, so we know who these companies are, but the million-dollar question is, how are they actually doing it? Let's pop the hood and take a look inside this innovation engine to see what makes it run. All right, one of the most important concepts to get here is this idea of platform technology. This is a real game changer. Instead of spending years developing one drug for one target, these companies build a core scientific system. The best analogy is a master key. Instead of forging a brand new unique key for every single door, you create a master key that you can then slightly tweak to open a whole bunch of different locks.
And here's why that is so powerful. It's just an incredibly efficient way to develop medicines. So, a company like Amylyx Pharmaceuticals creates a core tech, their antisense platform, that's basically designed to shut down harmful genes. Then they say, okay, here's a gene we know causes some forms of ALS, SOD1. They use their platform to design a drug just for that. But here's the magic. When they find another, bad gene, like C9orf72, they don't have to start all over from scratch. They just adapt their platform, their master key for the new target.
And it's not just one company doing this one way. I mean, just look at the variety here. We just talked about Amylyx and their gene silencing tech. But then you have a company like Denali Therapeutics. They're solving a totally different but just as critical problem. How do you get drugs past the brain's natural defense system, the blood-brain barrier? They're building a transport vehicle to do just that. And then you've got Verge Genomics, which is using AI to sift through mountains of data to find new drug targets that humans might have missed entirely. So cool.
But hold on, it's not all about genetics. I mean, that's a massive piece of the puzzle, for sure. But some of these other companies are taking a different approach. They're zooming in even closer, right into the cells, and trying to fix the actual machinery that keeps our neurons running.
The strategy is to attack the disease from all sides. You have companies like Alector and Annexon that are focused on the immune system's role, trying to cool down the inflammation that damages the nervous system. Then you've got a company like Amylyx, which is all about protecting the motor neurons directly, like putting up a shield against cellular stress. And the level of detail is getting wild. Companies like Wave Life Sciences are making molecules so precise they can turn off the bad copy of a gene while leaving the healthy copy alone.
Now this is so important. As brilliant and innovative as these companies are, they almost never get to the finish line by themselves. The next crucial piece of this whole puzzle is collaboration. It's all about teamwork. And there's a pretty clear playbook for how this works. It starts with the mid-cap innovator. They have the breakthrough idea, they test it, they prove it works on a smaller scale.
Then they team up with one of the big pharma companies. The big partner brings the big bucks needed for those massive worldwide clinical trials. And then if the drug gets approved, that larger partner has the global network to get the treatment out to every patient who needs it everywhere.
And you see, this partnership model is exactly what bridges that innovation gap we were talking about earlier. It's like the perfect marriage. You get the brilliant, fast-moving science from the mid-cap, and you combine it with the scale and resources of the pharma giant. That's the system. That's how you turn a discovery in a lab into a therapy that actually helps people.
So when you put it all together, the intense focus, these incredible platform technologies, the smart partnerships, what you get is an entire ecosystem that is genuinely building a future with more hope for people living with ALS. So what's next? What's going to keep this engine running at full speed?
Well, there are a few huge trends that are really pushing everything forward. First, genetic medicine itself is just exploding. Things like RNA therapies are opening up doors we never knew existed. We're also getting way better at finding biomarkers, which is huge for making clinical trials faster and more accurate. Of course, there's the rise of precision medicine, getting us closer to treatments designed for person-specific genetic makeup. And like we saw, AI is becoming a total game changer for finding new ways to attack the disease faster than ever. But here's the really amazing part. These mid-cap companies, they aren't just following these trends. They're not just riding the wave of innovation. In so many cases, because of their sharp focus and their powerful platforms, they are the wave. They are the ones creating these new technologies in the first place. They are the engine.
And that leaves us with one final big thought. We've just seen how this model, this combination of focus, agility, and collaboration, is a seriously powerful engine in the fight against ALS. So it really makes you wonder, right? When you look at the other massive medical puzzles out there, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, maybe this innovation sweet spot is exactly where we should be looking for the next huge breakthrough.